Hello everybody, welcome to 2CTV, your global news channel. I'm Maya Tusi, and we have some breaking news coming from the United Kingdom. The relationship between Britain and the Jewish nation, as the British government under the leadership of Keir Starmer are now threatening the state of Israel if Israel refuses to surrender to Hamas in Gaza. Hamas have already thanked the government of the United Kingdom alongside the French and the Canadian governments. There is a backlash. The British government have now summoned the Israeli ambassador in London to the Foreign Office, and the Israeli government also hitting back. The diplomatic ties are basically on the brink of collapse. The trade talks have now been cut and cancelled by the British government, and a lot of people are quite concerned about what is going on with the British foreign diplomacy and policy in general. There's a number of videos I'm going to show you guys in terms of statements from the Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, and of course the reaction from the Israelis as well. A lot of pressure on the streets of the UK coming from the Islamists and the far left. I'm also going to show you, just stay with us, be patient, because I'm going to show you exactly what's happening in the United Kingdom in general. In case you're watching this from around the world, you might not actually know what sort of stuff we're dealing with in Britain, and actually countries like Britain in general. First things first, we have had David Lammy and Keir Starmer urging Benjamin Netanyahu to end the self-defense of Israel against the Islamists in Gaza, revealing that the UK has now halted and stopped the talks with the Israeli government. No more talks with the government of Israel, apart from, of course, the Israeli ambassador being summoned by the UK government to officially and formally deliver the message to the Prime Minister of Israel. Apart from that, no more talks, especially when it comes to the trade negotiations. That is one issue. Now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We know that. Some of the liberal governments in the West are not too happy, mostly because of the political pressure, because of mass migration and multiculturalism. These politicians are freaking out. They don't want to lose votes. And the rest of them are a bunch of traitors. David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary, who's been getting very close to the Palestinian side, said, "I say now to the people of Israel, I want a strong friendship with you based on shared values and with flourishing ties between our people and societies. We are unwavering in our commitment to your security and to your future, to countering the very real threat from Iran, the scourge of terrorism and the evils of anti-Semitism." Let me just clarify one thing. This is the same Foreign Secretary, the same Foreign Office, and the same British state that continues to refuse to designate the IRGC as a terrorist organization. He's lying when he says, of course, we get the threat, that the main threat is from the Islamic Republic of Iran. They don't believe that. He said, "But the conduct of the war in Gaza is damaging our relationship with your government. And as the Prime Minister has said, if Israel pursues this military offensive, as it has threatened, failing to ensure the unhindered provision of aid, we will take further action in response." So the Foreign Office are now and Downing Street are now directly threatening the state of Israel if the IDF refuses to surrender to Hamas. But then, obviously, this was going to get a massive reaction from the Israelis. It's not really a surprise. The Israelis are quite smart. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to remind the European leaders that, don't forget, we have President Trump. Now, one of the reasons that Emmanuel Macron, Keir Starmer, and Mark Carney are doing all this, it goes alongside with everything they've been doing over the last couple of months. They want to create their own European version of the United States of Europe and their own European NATO. So they created the coalition of the willing to attack Russia. They've created their own, obviously they've cancelled Brexit to bring the UK back into the European project. They want to go against the US, but they also beg the US to support them, which is kind of funny. But the Foreign Ministry in Israel has now said that the British mandate ended 77 years ago. External pressure will not sway Israel from defending its existence and security. When they're right, they're right. Yes, the British mandate did end 77 years ago. The British state has no right to tell the Jewish nation whether they should surrender or whether they should defend themselves against a bunch of barbaric Islamists. Now, they never stopped. The thing about this is that the Israeli government are in further talks with the Americans in regards to the partnership that Israel and America has when it comes to the plan in Gaza. Obviously mobilizing the forces, moving the Gazans from that area somewhere else. Obviously President Trump wants to send them to Libya temporarily to rebuild Gaza and bring them back. So the Israelis are spending today just hitting back at the British state. Last night and today, obviously, the Hamas in Gaza confirmed that they want to thank France, Canada and the UK for the support that they've shown to the Islamic resistance in Gaza. But obviously, the Israelis responded on X, the official account of Israel. When you are praised by Hamas, a jihadist terrorist organization that murders children, you are on the wrong side of history. Yes, straightforward. And we also reported this last night, and I went on a complete rant about the problem that when you have Islamists thanking you, maybe you should think twice. And that was last night. Despite that, today, Keir Starmer, David Lammy thought it would still be a good idea to go to the House of Commons in Parliament to make this announcement, to cut off the trade ties. Now, the Foreign Minister in Israel has said that I want to tell every country, mainly those who have had colonial pasts, that this is a proud nation. We are independent. Let's quickly go to that video, then we have a couple of other things to show you.
What I want to tell to every country, mainly those who had colonial past, this is a proud nation, an independent nation, fighting on its existence, and we will not get any dictates from outside with regard to our national security. This should be very understood.
It's right. We have no right to tell an ally to surrender to their enemy. It's just odd. They've gone mad, the British state. But the Americans are still backing Israel. Adam Boehler, Trump's special envoy, said that the Israeli Defense Forces ground operation would bring the release of hostages closer. This is the difference in terms of rhetoric, comparing the US side as an ally to Israel to the European, the Western European countries. Let's quickly go to Trump's special envoy.
I do think we're closer than we ever were, and part of that is because of movement that the IDF and Israel did on the ground. And so that it strengthens our hand.
So as opposed to France, the UK, and what was the other country? Canada, who criticized Israel today for the ground operation, the United States supports it?
The United States has always been a fervent supporter of Israel.
That's true.
And I think we always think about how you balance various aspects. But if I were a European country, I'd be particularly sensitive to how I...
Yeah, true. So you have this to deal with. But it's not just France, the UK and Canada. The whole of the European Union have now finally become united against the Jews. There's only one country that is proactively, as the leading country in the EU, is fighting against it, but it's a little bit too late. It's Germany. Germany continues to support the Jewish nation as a leading country. Of course, we've got other countries as well, including Hungary, that supports Israel. But in terms of the leading countries, it's too late because the EU Foreign Minister, this is the next video I have to show you, Callas said that the EU Foreign Ministers meeting will now be discussing cutting ties with the state of Israel. And the agreement that they were supposed to be having with the Jewish nation is now out the window because the Israelis are being mean to Hamas. Let's go to that video.
Then On Syria, I hope that we will agree on the lifting of economic sanctions today, and then, of course, it's going to be a very, very hard discussion on Gaza and what is happening there. So the Dutch minister has put forward a proposal to do the review of Article 2 of our association agreement with Israel.
I love how she didn't get the irony of starting her statement by saying, yeah, of course, we're now absolutely friends with Syria. We're going to lift the sanctions on Syria. They're very good people. But yes, the Jews. Let's talk about the Jews. Let's threaten them instead. If you can lift sanctions from Syria with Al-Julani, you're going to give him a chance, right? What happened to your alliance with the State of Israel? That's the issue. They say they simply care about the humanitarian issues in Gaza, right? They don't say anything about what's happening in Somalia. They don't say anything about what's happening in Yemen. They don't say anything about what's happening in Sudan or anywhere else that is right now a humanitarian crisis. They don't care. No Jews, no news. Now, we have to give you guys the facts because the media are not showing you and these governments are not showing you. Today, over 100 aid trucks, humanitarian aid trucks, entered Gaza, and actually within the last hour or so, more is going in. This is the evidence.
שימו לב, מתחקור פה של האנשים, עד 100 משאיות היום. עד 100 משאיות היום. זה לא 1, לא 2, לא 10, לא 20, עד 100 הם מדברים. הם מדברים פה על 100 משאיות. עד 100 משאיות ייכנסו היום. בושה, איזה ביזיון. איזה ביזיון.
But the Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, and the Prime Minister, and all the others are saying, well, people are starving in Gaza. The number of new restaurants that have now been opened in Gaza, the shopping center in Gaza that are now selling new burgers, which obviously you've seen all the videos on social media. I'll show it to you again later. Everybody is starving, and more apparently humanitarian aid is going in anyway, but apparently the Israelis are the bad guys here. This is David Lammy a few minutes ago confirming that the trade ties with Israel is now officially going to be cut, and everything's the fault of the Jews.
It is incompatible with the principles that underpin our bilateral relationship. Rejected by members across this House, and frankly, it's an affront to the values of the British people. Therefore, today, I'm announcing that we have suspended negotiations with this Israeli government on a new free trade agreement.
The problem wasn't what David Lammy said. The problem was the moment he said it, that we're going to cut off the ties. All the other MPs in the House of Commons, mostly the Labour Party, the way they cheered, it was a passionate cheer. Yeah. Not because they care about Gazans, but because they hate the Jews. Again, they never did any of this passionately. Passionate praising her when it came to Somalia, when it came to Sudan, when it came to Yemen, when it came to Christians in Nigeria. None of that happened. They didn't even care about the children of Syria over the last 10-15 years. Suddenly they care. Now, you might be wondering why the British government is doing this. You might be wondering what is happening in the United Kingdom. Let me tell you exactly what's going on. Recently we had the local elections in England. People also elected new mayors as part of these councils. We have a new mayor in Rotherham. Rotherham is one of the towns that was infected with the virus of grooming gangs for decades. It was exposed. All the Pakistani Islamists were going around doing whatever they wanted to do. Let me introduce you not just to the new mayor of Rotherham, but what is actually happening. What's the vibe around the inauguration? The video I'm going to show you is from the day, which is today, the inauguration of the new mayor of Rotherham. Roxana Ismail, who will be serving as the mayor of Rotherham. Let's go to this one.
रिप्रेजेंट कर रही हूँ अपने पाकिस्तानी सारी आवाम को, पाकिस्तानी मुसलमान औरतों को। माशाल्लाह मुझे बहुत फख्र हो रहा है, हिजाब पहना हुआ है, जहाँ भी जाऊंगी मैं रिप्रेजेंट करूंगी एक मुसलमान औरत जो रदरम की मेयर बनी है। साउथ यॉर्कशायर में पहली पाकिस्तानी कश्मीरी औरत मेयर बनी हूँ। माशाल्लाह बहुत फख्र की बात है। आई एम एब्सोल्युटली प्रिविलेज्ड, इट्स अ ऑनर टू बी इन दिस पोजीशन। मैंने कभी सोचा नहीं था ये दिन भी आएगा। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, ये सब अल्लाह अज़्ज़ा व जल की वजह से, दीन की वजह से और मेरे माँ बाप की दुआ।
डिप्टी मेयर काउंसलर हारून रशीद और काउंसलर ताइबा यासीन ने रुखसाना इस्माइल के मेयर बनने पर अपनी मुसर्रत का इजहार करते हुए कहा,
मैं मैडम मेयर को मुबारकबाद देता हूँ। ये तो कि हिस्ट्री बन की हमारी जो साउथ यॉर्कशायर में जो फर्स्ट फीमेल मेयर है ये।
If you joined the live stream just now and you just clicked on the channel while this clip was being shown, no, this was not Pakistan. This is the new mayor of Rotherham in England, and today was her inauguration. This video was from the inauguration of the new mayor in Yorkshire, north of England, in 2025. They weren't even speaking English. I gathered the word when they mentioned Yorkshire, South Yorkshire, but that was it. That's not Pakistan, that's England. Now you wonder why the British political establishment are terrified. You wonder why Keir Starmer is saying all this. You wonder why Nigel Farage, as the leader of Reform UK, says we need to embrace them. We cannot alienate Islam because, you know, you can't criticize the ideology. Don't do it. Don't mention the book. Don't mention Aisha. Don't mention all the disgusting things that the ideology spreads. Don't. Because Nigel Farage, I need the votes. That's the reason all these parties are terrified. Because the country has been taken over. They need the votes. This is exactly why this is happening. Why Angela Rayner was sent to a meeting with a bunch of Islamic men. There were no women in that meeting, by the way. Angela Rayner was the only woman wearing a red dress for some reason, standing out. Thought that she could convince them to vote for Labour. A lot of them still didn't vote for Labour because they believed that the Labour Party was a Zionist party, so they voted for independent candidates and the Green Party candidates. And they started beating Labour. So Labour want them back. Reform UK want that vote. Big chunk of society, these are active voters. They're Islamists. There's a battle between Reform and Labour to get the Islamic vote. Now, which one will get them first? It's too soon to tell, but the Islamic vote will have to go to one of these two main parties, Labour or Reform. It's crazy, right? Now, let's get some reaction. We're waiting for more statements on this from the Israelis. First question from Cynthia, thank you, saying the UK has no shared values with Israel. They don't believe in Israel's right to defend its citizens against terrorists, as evidenced by the 1,000 of girls that they have sacrificed to the rape gangs, just to keep the Muslim vote. Cynthia's right. Cameron says, Starmer doesn't speak for the UK. Democracy is fake. So that's an oxymoron, because obviously if democracy is fake, then that means he's speaking for the UK. If democracy is real, then he's not speaking for the UK. So that both sentences can't go together. Democracy is real, that means the majority of the UK. If you believe that the majority of the UK actually support Israel, then that means democracy is real. You can see the result, but obviously we don't have direct democracy in this country. We have representative democracy, so it's not really about if millions of people vote for the same thing. It's not how it works. It's about the constituencies. Luke says, Starmer picked a right moment to act like the clown. He just finished pulling his trousers back up for Brussels, for shame. Well, first it was him selling out the British industries to India. Then he sold out to the US. Then he sold out to the European Union. And in the same week, he also decided to sell out to Hamas. Priorities, guys. This is what our Prime Minister is doing. Sasha says, I stand with Israel. Our government does not speak for me. And that's the thing, by the way, when it comes to parliamentary democracies, or constitutional monarchies, basically, the executive branch, which is the government, the actual Prime Minister and ministers, not the MPs, just the actual ministers, they are not there to represent the public. They are there to represent the king, His Majesty. So it's up to the king to say whether his government actually is representing what the government is saying is representing him or not. Obviously, in different political systems, especially when it comes to more direct democracy, yes, the political leaders and the government will be representing the public. But constitutionally speaking, Keir Starmer doesn't care. So, but it will still come back and haunt him because he is not going to be able to form a majority in the next election. This is going to be a one-term Labour majority government. That's it. But the damage that they're going to be causing between now and then is going to be huge. Kim says, it's sad. I'm not religious but spiritual. I believe in God, what the Bible teaches us about us supporting the Jewish people. Everyone that turns their back on the Jewish people will answer in the end. Well, they'll be cursed, right? I mean, it's not even just about the cultural side or the religious side. It's an ally. You are getting so much from Israel, the UK, obviously Canada, France. All they want you to do is not to attack them. The Israelis are not begging the West to bring their soldiers and put their boots on the ground to fight their fight. They're fighting their own fight. They can defend themselves. They are simply saying, allies, could you please stop attacking us and stop taking the side of our enemy, Hamas? That would be nice. Just don't be an obstacle. There is a super chat from RG in Israel saying, Israel is well aware that any action taken by Britain is drenched in Islamic money. We will not be bought by global boycott fear funded by Islamists. It's true. It's the fear of the demographic changes that they themselves have caused. All these elitist liberal globalists in power, they caused this. And now they say, well, we need to adapt. We're going to have to get the votes now and the money. Sanket says, I watched a video made by a Pakistani showing Bradford. I think Britain has fallen. By the way, Ishkarala Taiba shot dead in Sindh, Pakistan. Thanks for the update. We'll give you an update on what's going on in Pakistan and India later on as well, if we have time. Another super chat from Israel. How is it that because the voters didn't get out to the polls in order to punish the Tories, somehow we get screwed over? How is it that because of voters didn't go out, to punish? Because when the majority didn't bother, a big chunk didn't bother to vote, the Labour supporters came out to vote, and they still managed to win. 20% of the country voted for Labour, but less of them voted for Tories and Reform. That's the issue. Turnout was low, but Labour still managed to get more votes than the others, just about. But it's a parliamentary system, so it's based on constituencies. You're not voting for the prime ministers. It's not like a presidential system. So you don't elect the prime minister. It's like the obviously the Knesset in Israel. You don't directly elect Netanyahu, although people still see it as you directly elect this. That's not how it works. People need to stop looking at that. When you have a parliamentary system, you need to actually behave like a parliamentary system. The people going around and say, we need to go and elect Keir Starmer, vote for Keir Starmer, vote for Nigel Farage, vote for that other idiot, Kemi Badenoch. Like, you have no power unless you live in their constituency. What are you talking about? You can't vote and you shouldn't vote for the leaders. Idiocy everywhere. Nomad says, it's irreparable, therefore the UK, it's sad that Britain is ruled by Pakistanis. It would be better if the UK was rather ruled by Syrian, Japanese, Chinese descent. Not really sure about the Chinese, especially over the last few decades after what happened after Mao. But yeah, I get the point. Kia, is that Kia? Can wish in one hand and S in the other. See what the hand fills up first. Oh my god. A very robust chat, and it's not even evening yet. But I had some sort of reaction apparently from... yes, the Foreign Office in the United Kingdom have doubled down in terms of cutting off ties with the Israelis on the trade negotiations and everything else. So they don't care until they lose the next election. Audrey says, and we are all aware it is only the governments and prime ministers that are influenced by this. Forever will the British civilians, true Brits, be our friends. But let's not forget a big chunk of society in Britain also support that side, the elitist, Starmerite mentality. It's not that 100% of Britain is like some sort of right-wing, patriotic, conservative people. You do have, because of demographic changes, because of the education system being infiltrated a few decades ago, we've got a huge chunk of left-wing weirdos, we've got a huge chunk of Islamists, and these are still technically British civilians, right? And RG is right about, well, governments and prime ministers, but it's not just prime ministers, it's MPs. Ordinary MPs who are not in government, they can also be influenced, and they have been influenced. But it goes beyond the political system because they're also buying out all the others, including the people who work for the BBC, all the people who work for heritage sites and cultural sites, institutions, everything else that we have. It's not just about politics, it's a cultural battle. Oh yeah, saw that one. And Kim says, Britain caused all of this mess when they split up all the borders. They did it to India and Pakistan too. Yeah, the exit of the British Empire did not go too well, let's just say. Well, while they were ruling, things were stable, relatively. But yeah, the exit plan, not good. Starmer has gone power mad. Is he insane? A little bit. He thinks he's the second Trump. How do we get rid of this despotic leader? Well, just going to have to wait for the next election. That's it. Does Starmer think he can hold the majority of seats? I don't think he does. I think he knows it's going to be a one-term Labour majority. So I think he wants to cause all the damage. He doesn't see it as damage. He sees it as a legacy, right? I think he's being very proactive now because he knows he's not going to last. That's why he's doing this. He shouldn't be doing anything without the will of the people agreeing to it. Well, we don't have direct democracy. We have a parliamentary system. So technically speaking, during that term between general elections, technically speaking, MPs could do whatever they want. And then after the election, well, when the next election comes, it's up to the people to then assess what the performance was, kick them out. Problem is, a lot of people in the country don't actually follow politics. They just vote based on emotions. But that's the constitution. Between election and election, MPs could do, and governments could do whatever they want. As long as they don't do anything illegal, they can do whatever they want. It's representative democracy. Rita says, all these bloody liberal regimes in Ireland, Sweden, Norway, Spain and France, besides copycat Canada. Yeah, I mean, at this point, you need to consider Canada, the Canadian government, a Western European government. They have the same mentality. And despicable should be ignored and shunned. They are only good at twisting the real facts. Yeah, can't disagree. Absolutely disgusting for the UK to demand Israel to surrender. They should be demanding to sort terrorism. It seems like the UK politicians are seriously scared. Terrifyingly scared, yeah. There's a couple of other... Kim says, is it true what I've heard, that you have more Pakistanis in there than you do military? That's like shooting yourselves in the damn foot. Yeah, just a little bit. Well, we don't. The number of people in the professional armed forces in Britain has gone down massively anyway. We made a lot of cuts, and yes, you technically do have more migrants than the army. So definitely more Islamists than the army. Anyway, we're going to keep you guys posted on this. There's going to be more reaction, but we're going to come back shortly because the Iranian regime are now threatening President Trump after walking away from the deal. The talks yesterday, they were supposed to accept the invitation of Oman. As we reported, they have declined that invitation. And there's also some update coming from the Middle East, the clashes in Gaza. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm Maya Tusi, and we are the media.